We are in Atting, a small village in Zanskar, in the home of Rigzen Tsewang. He's getting ready for a long expedition to Paldar, a little-known but reputedly idyllic valley in the Indian Himalayas. Rigzen has relatives in several villages, and he's planning to meet Nawang, a childhood friend in Halod, for the Nague Festival. Rigzen's mother and aunt are sharing breakfast with friends who will be accompanying him, discussing the tales and legends about these long treks. Rigzen has been to see his neighbours to find porters. First, he has to sort out and divide the loads. Then he will draw lots to see who will carry what. The porters use a kershing, a basic backpack with a wood frame and straps, which enables them to carry very heavy loads. The purpose of this long journey is to reach Paldar Valley in the west, close to Kashmir, by crossing the Zanskar mountain range and the treacherous 5,400-meter high Omasila pass. These days, the valley is accessible by road and track via Kashmir. But this 3 to 4 day journey in tough conditions costs a lot of money. Depending on the weather, Rigzen hopes to reach Halod in 4 or 5 days. Atting is 3,500 meters above sea level. The first valley is stony and barren, like much of the area, which gets very little rain in summer. In the middle of the day, the rapids and rivers swell. The heat from the sun means the snow and glaciers thaw more quickly. It's time for a break. Tsewang collects dry yak dung to feed the fire to make salted butter tea. And Fenris always remembers to appeal to the gods by tying a small katak to a tree. When the tea is mixed with milk and spices, it becomes chai. Yak butter can be added as well. On the other side of the river, set in the rock, lies Yongkul Monastery. Over the centuries, its isolated location has made it a mecca for meditation. 17-year-old Rigzen knows the area well. This monk from Yongkul Monastery is delighted to get away for a while. Solidarity and support are the bywords of these men, especially when crossing powerful rapids, when the water is only 4 degrees above freezing. Most of them are farmers. They may be small in stature, but they're incredibly tough and strong. As they make their way along the valley, the landscape becomes more imposing, with huge rock faces. Decides to stop for the night by a massive boulder, where they will be able to shelter in the event of rain. Sampa is the staple food of the inhabitants of these high valleys. It's made of roasted barley flour mixed with tea or water. At sunrise, even at 3,800 meters above sea level, the air is mild, warmed by an optimistic sun. But that doesn't mean it will stay that way today. The weather is extremely changeable here. Thenlis takes the time to adjust the Kershings of the younger members, some of whom suffered yesterday. Teshi is the oldest member of the group. This 48-year-old has done this journey 30 times and knows a perfectly balanced Kershing is the secret to a comfortable long day's walk.
Mindu.
7 hours of walking are planned, with the first steep climbs. Despite his youth, Rigzen, the 17-year-old Lama, is in exceptional physical condition. In summertime, the farmers of the last villages in Zanskar let their herds of yaks go quite high up the mountain to graze on fresh grass. Yaks are not only strong, they're also fantastic climbers. In the distance, you can make out the first tongues of the glacier of Omasila Pass, half shrouded in mist. Sange is a friend of Rigzen. This native of Nepal is the team's cook. He's used to high altitudes and often accompanies groups to the Everest base camps. He takes the first steep climbs in his stride.
Yeah, it says around this mountain there is full of precious stone. One of the most precious and most expensive is Kashmir Sapphire.
The group's youngest members turn up much later, but they've been pretty smart. Lobsan and Stanzin borrowed a yak and gave it their loads to carry. No wonder they greet their friends with a smile. They make a snack out of the fresh vegetables they brought with them and the bread baked before setting off this morning. In the distance, the Omasila Pass is still shrouded in mist. The terrain becomes more uneven, with long stretches of boulders to negotiate. They're going to make use of this yak all day, then let it go. It will make its way slowly back to the rest of the herd. At over 4,500 meters above sea level, the night promises to be cold. Tsewang is counting on this rock shelter to protect them from the rain that could fall at the end of the day. He and Tsewang have been to pick rare flowers with therapeutic properties.
Omasila.
These plants here are piankulu. They are medicinal plants. They purify the blood and give food and interesting flavor.
At 4:30 in the morning, Tsewang makes flatbread before what promises to be a tough day. A 10-hour walk at very high altitude. The famous pass await them. At dawn, the glacier is still partially covered by the clouds, but it has stopped raining. The first rays of sun are rather reassuring. The day begins with this long, grey, rock-strewn and very slippery glacier tongue. Everyone is wearing ordinary rubber boots. Worked on by the summer sun, the glacier has a strange appearance. It's like a vision of chaos. As they approach 5,000 meters altitude, they have to brake increasingly often. It's tough, but no one complains or shows any sign of weariness. The good news is the sun is out and will accompany them on the last part of their climb. A steep climb through the snow and rocks awaits the group. Tsewang has slowed down. It's steep, and at above 5,000 meters above sea level, their loads are starting to weigh them down. Even though the sight is quite spectacular, everyone tries to be doubly vigilant, as high altitudes tend to make you less so. How can they walk in rubber boots without slipping is a mystery. Although this trek is not comparable to mountain climbers' feats on high peaks, these simple farmers have incredible stamina and an amazing sense of balance. The last 100 meters to the 5,400 meter pass will be covered at a snail's pace. At the summit, they're all smiles again. The gods are thanked, and kataks are handed out to all those crossing the pass for the very first time.
I believe there is a God who looks after the Omasila Pass. Every time I cross the pass, first thing in the morning, I think of him and ask him to be benevolent. When we reach the summit, we say prayers and offer kataks to thank him for having brought out the sun and not made it rain or snow.
The team doesn't linger on the pass. A long trek across the glacier awaits them on the other side, as well as a layer of snow thick enough to conceal the many crevasses. Tsewang is not a guide. Besides, there are no schools in his valley. But he has learnt from his elders how to behave on this glacier. He decides to rope up everyone and begin a cautious descent, using his stick to probe the terrain. There is still an extremely steep slope to descend to reach the base of the glacier. Everything is out of proportion here, on the scale of the Himalayas and their vastness.
I have traveled this valley since I was a very young boy. I know the way perfectly. I know where to cross the rapids and how to carry heavy loads. These are the things you learn as you go, with each trek.
Over 2 hours to descend this glacier tunnel. This rock is a worrying indication of how much the glacier has shrunk in the past few years.
You see, until about 10 or 20 years ago, the glacier went all the way up there on each side. But since then, it's shrunk significantly every year. And that's also a symbol of the way in which the glacier is melting.
After more than 10 hours of walking, the sight is still just as spectacular, despite the thickening clouds. Everyone knows how lucky they were to have crossed the pass in such good conditions. The rain puts in an appearance on the descent towards Paldar. It's a steep walk down through the rocks. Signs of greenery are already visible. It's only 50 kilometers away as the crow flies. Paldar, unlike Zanskar, has been hit by the monsoon. Even just below 4,000 meters altitude, the vegetation is varied and there are trees.
In ancient time, when there was no road, our father and forefather, they used to travel for a month by crossing height passes, height ranging from 5,000 to 5,000 to 6,000. So it's you can see it's in our blood that that we can easily cross these passes, and it's no longer difficult or hardship life for us.
It's time for a well-earned break after a tough descent. This is the first time the youngest members of the group have ever seen this scenery and vegetation. As they walk along the valley, Rigzen and his friends will encounter the first herds belonging to nomads from Punjab and Himachal Pradesh. They spend the summer at high altitudes and take advantage of Paldar's lush vegetation. The inhabitants of Paldar, the Pahadi, practice transhumance too. In summer, they live at altitude in small basic houses with their herds, like here in Sunsham Dogsa. The Buddhist owners employ Hindu seasonal workers from the plains. This form of cohabitation exists nowhere on earth. They smoke their tobacco in pipes called tops. This shepherd is bringing back a sheep that was killed by a rockfall. Tsewang, who's chatting with him, even gets to hear a tune he plays when he's with his flock.
Oh
The next day, it rains on the way. Rigzen meets some women who've left the summer pastures to go down to the village of Suncham. Although they speak a different Zanskari dialect, they understand each other easily.
They are from the village of Suncham.
Nestled in a green setting, Suncham is the first village in the valley after the pass. The houses are mainly made of wood, which is not the case in Zanskar. They continue their descent as powerful torrents pour beneath what remains of the glacier in Suncham. Rigzen decides to stop in the next village, Shashel, where he has relatives.
Right now we are in Jashel, the second village. When we come from Zanskar, and this is the house of one of my relatives. So we stop here for a cup of tea, and after we leave for Danga.
Dorma is Rigzen's sister-in-law. Her husband is a Hamchi, a traditional doctor. He's doing his rounds right now lower down the valley. Dorma asked Teshin to prepare some ashar with spices, chilies and talcor, an endemic plant. This condiment will be served with potatoes and talcor bread.
Yes, it's a traditional bread, and it's quite famous in Paldar area. It's only found in this area.
Dorma also serves lassi, fermented milk. She's delighted to have this end of August visit. She knows the first snowfalls aren't far off and that it will be difficult to get around. This is a welcome break for the whole team. The days are long, especially in the rain. Teshin asks Dorma to show him the blanket she weaves in winter. He loves the quality of the wool and wants to take two home. The pair discuss the price in hushed voices. Teshin will take them back for him. For now, the landscape is grandiose, but just below 3,000 meters, the first conifers appear. These shepherds are going down
We're in village Gona, and this house is this family is one of my relatives.
Pedma is Rigzen's cousin. She's going to make chong for the occasion. This is barley that has been fermenting for several weeks. She's pressing it to make a kind of beer that's very popular in these valleys. No one here needs to collect dried yak dung for the fire. There's enough wood to keep it going constantly. Their daughter has just had a baby. Her husband has already left again for the mountain pastures with his sheep and goats. They're all delighted to have seen Rigzen again. He rarely comes to Paldar. Lozan is a good half-hour's walk from Gorna. In a magnificent setting, it's like a picture postcard in summer. Its location is no accident. This is where there's the most chance in winter of avoiding the many terrible avalanches. There is a small Buddhist monastery in the middle of the village. The younger members of the team have come here to pray. It is run by a monk from Zanskar on a temporary assignment from Baden Monastery. Lozan is the valley's first sizable village when arriving from Zanskar. Gujar nomads often come here in the summer to trade their goat's milk and wool for supplies. A friend of Rigzen is busy distilling arrow, a spirit drunk mainly in winter on any and every occasion. An hour's walk from here, Rigzen reaches his destination, the village of Halod. At almost 3,000 meters above sea level, it lies at the bottom of a nameless but magnificent mountain. This is where he is meeting Tsewang, his friend who spends the best part of the year further south in Jammu. He shows Rigzen the beehives found on the ground floor of the villagers' homes. The bees get into them through these small openings. Protected in this way, the hives grow and produce a highly sought-after honey.
Yeah, in the month of November, they collect it.
In other words, just before the first snow falls. Every house has a south-facing terrace which provides an open space all year round for carrying out different tasks. In winter, the herds live in the lower part of the house, thus providing a very cheap source of heating. These nomads have brought some goat's milk to Tsewang's house. They are Gujors, who willingly help out with different tasks. At her neighbors, they're busy making cow's milk cheese. After being dried in the sun, it keeps for several weeks. At this time of year, the cowsheds are bursting with herbs, mushrooms and plants. Once dried, they can be eaten all winter long. Tsewang Ranshan keeps more than plants in his home. The village Hamchi, or traditional doctor, reveals his age-old remedies. Mysterious potions, strange roots. Aged 87, he's a walking encyclopedia of the valley's many different plants. He's both sad and fatalistic, because he could well be the last in a long line of Hanchis.
He says that these days the younger generation, they prefer to have a formal education in the school, and to practice Amchi, he has to learn the religious text. He should be expert in Buddhist studies, only then he can be Amchi. Yeah, he says it's disappointing, he feels regret, but there is no choice because the younger generation, they prefer to have a formal education in school.
Paldar has a lot more going for it than Zanskar. It might seem surprising that people like Rigzen don't want to come and live here.
The climate and the soil type as compared to Ladakh is much better. The land are much fertile and the climate is much better. They have more rain and less snow, and they can grow many kinds of crops and vegetable fruits, and life is better here. I wish I could come and settle here.
But whatever happens, his attachment to his valley and his family will always be stronger. The soil here has never been treated with fertilizers or pesticides. Not only are they too expensive, but everything grows in abundance anyway. The quality of the ecosystem is such that several companies come, especially from Delhi, to stock up with mushrooms and rare plants. Tsewang's garden is literally overrun with potatoes, a vegetable that is sometimes a luxury in Zanskar. Many roots also interest the specialists.
In our local language, this is Google.
This is a Google.
Gugul is also used as incense. Today in Halod, everyone is celebrating Nague, a festival marking the start of the harvest. After praying this morning, the oracle is ready to walk around the village giving his blessings. But before he sets off, he's going to meditate in the oldest house in the village. Even though this is a Hindu festival, the village's Buddhists are actively involved. The oracle goes from house to house to bless the offerings. Then everyone heads to the small temple above the village. Needed to be sacrificed to ensure a good harvest, and also name the families who had to supply them. Tsewang's family had to bring a sheep. The oracle continues the ceremony by flagellating himself. In his incantations, he passes on questions which the farmers whisper in his ear. Then he gives them the answers about what he sees.
It seemed little different to me, and at the same time little disappointing as well, because since they are Buddhists, they should practice what the Buddha teach, and but on the other hand, so they have been living here with the majority people living are Hindus, and it's kind of obligation, or you can say the compulsion. They have to practice what the majority practice here.
It's the medium's turn to step into the circle. He's already in a trance. He too is going to act as a go-between for the villagers' questions. The next day, calm has returned to the village, and the oracle is busy making a blanket, or to be more precise, a design of multicolored threads, which will then be put on a loom and woven onto. This activity is usually saved for the long winter months. Tsewang is visiting Deskit, one of his aunts, who has a very fine collection of jewellery. Tsewang is a connoisseur. He works in the sapphire trade.
For special occasion, they wear all this jewelry. Otherwise, during walking in the field, from family to family, yeah.
Some of the stones are rare and extremely valuable.
She will pass it to, when her daughter get married, she will pass it to her daughter.
This one same, and this one.
See, yeah, it was made here, but the gold being bought from Delhi or Jammu. But the jewelry are made here.
On the hill above the village stands the Gompa, the Buddhist monastery. It was given to the village last century by a monastery in Spiti, a Himalayan region further to the east. So it is looked after by a monk from Spiti. He's on a year's mission in Halod.
The majority of the population in this valley is Hindu, and so there's a strong influence of Hindu culture on Buddhism. For the Buddhists, it is not very nice to have to practice the rites of the local Pahari. The Rinpoche should come and see the situation for himself and think about the mixing of the two religions here. Only he can restore order. I'm just a lowly monk, and no one listens to me because they have been living this way for so long.
Rigzen and Tsewang have come to the village of Danga, nestling in the forest at the foot of a mountain, where the Sapphire Mines are closely guarded by the army.
Mais Tsewang fait régulièrement le tour des familles de la région pour leur acheter des pierres qu'ils auraient trouvées dans la montagne. Tout ce qui touche au saphir est toujours entouré de mystère et de prudence. L'ami de Tsewang ne va bien sûr pas sortir de grosses pierres devant la caméra, mais de petites unités qui donneront un beau rendu après polissage.
The
people here, the valley's inhabitants, have never been able to profit from their work in the sapphire mines. During British colonization, when the mines were excavated, all the stones were shipped to England and elsewhere. Then, after independence, the government took over. They took control of the mine's resources. So no one here has ever really benefited from them.
Certaines sont des pierres ordinaires. Là, c'est du saphir. Il y a des teintes vertes. Ce ne sont que de petites pierres.
Behind the village, a merchant from Punjab is buying sheep's wool from the nomads. He trekked for 3 days with his mules from Kashmir because he knew the wool would be of excellent quality. Once he has checked and weighed the bags, he will pay 33 rupees per kilo of wool, a paltry sum of about 50 euro cents. After spending the summer at high altitude, these Gujjar nomads will leave for Jammu at the beginning of September, where the climate is much warmer in winter. It will take them about 20 days to get there. Meanwhile, Rigzen greets his aunt, who owns this house. She offers Tsewang some arak to welcome him. Dichen Angmo is sad and worried about her 9 daughters. 3 of them are still single, and it's a heavy burden for her. Rigzen, who isn't married yet either, tries to reassure her. Rigzen meets up with his team of porters who are getting ready to head back to Zanskar. They buy lots of wooden tools in the village, especially snow shovels, but also spices and plants.
There isn't any wood in Zanskar to make this kind of implement, and we need them to clear the snow in the winter.
As compared to last year, it has been expensive. Last year he bought it for ₹100, and this year he has to pay 140 per one. So he feels it's expensive this year. Anyway, he will make a good business when you go back to Zanskar. He will sell it for 500 rupees.
The fact that we have internet, mobile phones, and new roads now won't really change the situation that much. Young people will continue to come to Paldar on foot. Since ancient times, our 2 valleys have got on very well.
Everyone in the village has opened their cellars. It's a day for bargains. Tsewang is also taking back a small beam, which he cuts up. Laden with wood, the party heads back to Zanskar and the treacherous Omasila pass. As for Rigzen, he has decided to go home via Kashmir. He heads down the Paldar Valley and stops at Macha, where he is surprised by an unusual sight. Thousands of Hindu pilgrims are flocking here to celebrate Chandi Mata. Many walk for 3 days from Gulagbar. The paths are heavily congested. The pilgrims then queue for hours to pray before a statuette of the goddess Chandi, one of the most important in Hinduism, associated with Shiva. At pilgrimages such as this, you get people from all walks of life. Captains of industry from Delhi, in simple white robes, rub shoulders with cattle breeders from deepest Himachal Pradesh. But there are more surprises in store for Rigzen. For the best part of the day, helicopters can be seen flying back and forth. Reserved for the elite who can afford the trip from the end of the valley, they turn a 3-day walk into a 5-minute flight.
People are coming here from all over India to pay visit to this Chandi Mata. So it's no crazy. People want to go for pilgrimage, but at the same time they need comfort. They are helicopter and they came here. But some people are real worshippers. They come barefooted. They walk for 2 days and they visit here and they go back barefooted as well.
As well as the disastrous impact these incessant flights have on valley life, its animals and villages, one wonders about the spiritual benefits of such a practice.